Hello, friends. Today I want to introduce you to a new story. Enjoy it. The first time the doctor told me how much the surgery would cost, I had to sit down. It wasn't life-threatening, at least not in the medical sense. But for my 6-year-old son, Caleb, being blind in one eye was making his world shrink. He stumbled more, isolated himself from other children, and stopped drawing, which he loved most. So I did what any mother would do. I stopped eating at work, turned down the heat at night, sold my engagement ring which, to be honest, didn't mean anything anymore after my ex-husband left, and slowly stuffed an envelope with cash that I hid in the back of my closet. It wasn't much by most people's standards, but to me it meant the difference between my son living in a fog or seeing colors clearly for the first time. Subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. The day everything disappeared, I came home from work with my cheeks flushed from the wind and found my mom and dad sitting in my living room like they owned the place. My sister Amanda was sprawled on my couch, scrolling through Instagram stories with a smug smile. "You're late," my mom said without looking at me. I had to pick up an extra shift, I mumbled, setting down my bag. "Caleb's surgery date is almost here." "I want to make sure that's not going to happen," my dad interrupted. His voice was flat, as if he was telling me the weather forecast. I felt my stomach drop. "What do you mean no?" Amanda straightened with a small smile. "Oh, she didn't tell you. Mom and Dad gave me your stash. I'm going to Dubai next week." She said it so casually, so carefree, that for a second I thought she was joking. "What?" My mom finally looked at me with hard eyes. "Your sister has been stressed. He needs a break. Son, travel, new experiences. That money wasn't doing anything useful sitting in your closet. It was for Caleb's surgery," I said, my voice shaking. Amanda laughed. Not loudly, but in that way that makes you want to wipe the smile off her face, and it's just one eye. "He's a boy. They recover quickly, but for me, this trip is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You'll get over this." I looked at her and then at my parents, hoping one of them would realize how absurd this sounded. Instead, my dad shrugged. "She needs to buy more than your son. The court has been overly dramatic about this whole thing. We're your parents. It's our decision." Something inside me went completely still. "His decision," I repeated slowly. "To take away my son's future without even asking me." "Enough is enough," my mom said, standing up as if the conversation was over. "Be thankful Amanda at least thought to tell you. We could have left you in the dark." Caleb came into the living room in his socks, rubbing his good eye, and asked if we could have spaghetti for dinner. Amanda complained about the noise, and my mom carried it into her room like it was a nuisance. I balled my fists until my nails dug into my palms. I wanted to scream at them, I wanted to kick them out of my house, but I knew that as soon as I opened my mouth, they'd spin it all to make me look ungrateful or selfish. So I swallowed it. I let them believe they'd won because right at that moment, with Amanda's laughter piercing my ears and my parents looking at me as if I were worthless, I understood something. I had no idea what I was capable of doing to protect my son. Dubai was about to become the biggest mistake Amanda had ever boasted about. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was crying, I was way over that. Crying is when you still think someone cares. I stayed in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to Caleb's soft breathing in the next room, and letting my mind run through all the possible ways I could make them regret what they'd done. By morning, the plan was already taking shape. Amanda had never worked for anything in her life. She was the kind of person who lived on credit, with designer handbags and spa memberships. Her latest cell phone boasted of being well-connected, but in reality, her only connection was Dad's wallet, and now her trip to Dubai was fully paid for with my son's chance to see clearly. That morning, before I left for work, I checked her Instagram, every story, every caption. She'd already posted the countdowns, tagged the hotel, and even shared screenshots of the itinerary. She wanted everyone to know. What she didn't know was that her dream trip had a couple of fragile pieces. The flights, the hotel reservation, the luxury experiences she'd set aside, desert safaris, private dinners, yacht rentals, all had one thing in common. They were non-refundable, but transferable. I didn't need her to. I needed her to lose the money. I needed her to lose something she valued more than money, her image. For a week, I played the role of the defeated and hurt sister. I didn't mention the surgery. I didn't ask for my money back. I even let my mom drop off Amanda's vacation clothes at my house so she could model them in front of my full-length mirror. Meanwhile, I started making a few calls, not to Dubai, but closer to home. Amanda had a boyfriend, or rather a carousel of boyfriends she collected for status. The current one, Ryan, had money, but was notoriously insecure around other men. And Amanda, well, she kept backup options. Let's just say she knew exactly which of those options was still texting her. When the day of her trip arrived, everything was ready. That morning, she even offered me a ride to the airport. "Wow," she said with a smirk, adjusting her oversized glasses. "Look who's being mature for once. Maybe there's hope for you after all," I said, opening the car door for her. "Have a great trip." What I didn't know was that while toasting champagne at 30,000 feet, Ryan would receive an anonymous envelope containing screenshots, printed messages, and a hotel confirmation for two people not in Dubai, but in our city, and not with him. I didn't need to see what happened next to know how it would end. Ray's ego wouldn't survive. He'd see to it that Amanda returned to a homecoming she'd never forget. And my parents would be too busy trying to save the image of their perfect daughter to notice that I was still working for Caleb. Because while Amanda's trip was falling apart, I'd been calling in favors, pawning more of my old things, and even taking on extra weekend work cleaning offices. The surgery fund was growing again. Slowly, but without them being able to touch a single peso. And best of all, the real revenge would come when Amanda's plane landed. Amanda returned from Dubai 3 days earlier than planned, not because she wanted to, but because she had nowhere else to go. Ryan had dumped her publicly, not privately, not by text, but right in the middle of his company's anniversary party in front of 100 people. According to a friend who worked at the Catherine, he read his faithful messages aloud before throwing his suitcase at her feet. The photos were already all over the internet by the time she landed, but that was just the appetizer. When I saw her in the baggage claim, she wasn't the tanned goddess I'd imagined for Instagram. She was pale, trembling, and looking for anyone, to take her side. My parents were also there, their faces sour. Clearly more concerned with the gossip than with Amanda. We didn't speak the entire way back. There was no need to. The next morning, I invited them all to brunch at my house. I told them it was to clear the air. They came expecting apologies or an attempt to fix everything. Amanda arrived in a bun and sweatshirt, hiding behind dark glasses. My mom entered first, looking 10 years older. My dad just grunted. On the table in front of them was a single envelope. "Come in," I told my dad, pushing it toward him. Inside was a receipt, not from his accounts or anything they recognized. It was for a fully paid surgery, Caleb's. The date was set for 2 weeks from now. "Where did you get that money?" my dad asked. I smiled. "From selling something that belonged to you." He froze. "You know that old car you have in the garage? The one you said you'd really let your son have one day? It turns out that when you leave the spare keys in plain sight, it's very easy to take it to an auction house." The silence in the room cut like a knife. "Did you steal from me?" he whispered. I leaned forward. "I didn't get back what you stole from my son. And before you call the police, good luck. The car was still in my name since you gave it to me years ago to avoid paying taxes. I just never bothered to tell you." Amanda opened her mouth, but said nothing. Mom turned red. "You ruined your own sister's life," my mom spat. I laughed. "No, Mom, she did it herself. All of you did. I just stopped letting you ruin mine and my son's." And right then Amanda's phone rang. Ryan had just posted an apology to his followers, not to her, but to anyone who'd been fooled by someone capable of betraying family and loyalty for a free trip. He tagged her in every photo, and all her friends were sharing it. Amanda took off her glasses and threw the phone on the table, but not before I could see the tears in her eyes. "Get out of my house," I said quietly. At first they didn't move, then, one by one, they left. I stood at the window with Caleb, watching as 3 people who had thought they could take away my dignity, my hope, and my son's chance to see the world left. Now they left knowing I had taken something they could never get back: control. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like the one in the dark. I had given my son his future back, and I did it without ever needing anything from them again. Subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching us from.